India, unlike China, is focusing on very basic business building.
How do we get to build more in the semiconductor space? How do we build more in AI? How do we build more AI tools? They missed out Anand Ambani's cock.
And while making eye contact, this guy gave me a one-star smile and scam. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
No, and don't you guys get surprised that this news just vanishes in a couple of weeks and you see bike taxes again everywhere and this is like fifth or sixth time that happening? What happens in that 1 2 weeks? What do you guys think?
The incentives are just misaligned, so I'm not sure how we can come out of this fucking rat race for some reason. Welcome to this week's edition of the Indian Startup Desktop. Let's go.
Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello.
everybody.
Awesome. Like usual, let's start off with some funny shit from this week. The collaboration we didn't know we needed. Sam Altman and Kunal Shah. What's happening with AI adoption in India right now is amazing to watch. We love the explosion of creativity. India is outpacing the world.
Hmm.
India is MAU form of the world.
100%.
ChatGPT
Chat.
Plus is free for college students in the US and Canada through May. भोसडी के ऐसे तो इंडिया इंडिया करते रहते हैं इंडिया वालों को फ्री एक्सेस दो.
That's why I love internet and I love Twitter.
I loved Pete's accent more than the tweet itself.
Yeah, that's also true.
Okay, I'm moving on. So every startup bros Twitter feed. AI, Musk, AI, camera, AI, golden. Fredo chair giveaway. Okay.
They missed out Anand Ambani's cock. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Oh fuck! I for 1 minute I was thinking like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
Let's move on. Let's move. Babe, are you okay? It's Q2 and you barely touched your Q1 roadmap.
Very relatable.
Tears.
UPI has single-handedly stolen the jobs of lakhs of local pickpockets. But do you think about it? No. You only think about yourself.
Yes, you are right.
India Post is
Hmm.
using Get Postman's logo to advertise. What
Oh
the?
God.
Can't even fire that designer because he will not get his pension, no?
Look at this. This is another funny thing. Babe, remember all that money we saved for the house?
This is
Okay.
a universal
Scared.
meme. It doesn't matter whether it's US or India or Europe or Nasdaq or NSC, whatever. It's universal right now.
Yeah. SIP करो खुश रहो.
Let's move on to the elafda of the week. Piyush Goyal's anti-startup speech. This
Yeah.
blew up recently. Yeah, so basically Piyush Goyal in his speech at Startup Mahakumbh says that India, unlike China, is focusing on very basic business building. Like we are building stuff. Like he also made fun of a bunch of rich people's kids making fancy ice cream, fancy cookies, exploiting labor for delivery app jobs, and a bunch of different things, which kind of made the entire Indian startup ecosystem into a frenzy. People were like, dude, government themselves are not supporting us. What the hell are we gonna do about it? Pavan, Saksham, do you want to give your quick thoughts, guys?
I in fact think this is exactly what we spoke about a couple of episodes ago as well, right? Like while we have no right to compare ourselves with somebody like a China who's actually doing so much more in terms of innovation, and we are just lagging behind so much. And he's right, like we are focusing more on building a lot of these food tech delivery startups, a lot of these vegan ice creams, like I think Piyush mentioned. And his focus also is how do we get to build more in the semiconductor space? How do we build more in AI? How do we build more AI tools? And I actually tend to agree that we need to shift focus towards solving some of these larger problems and not just focus on making business here and now. Otherwise, as an economy, we'll just lag, even further behind. Pawan,
No,
what's your
it's
thoughts?
great to understand that, Saksham, and I agree. Like in the ideal world, we should be solving larger problems. World is solving larger, so should we me. But also see how did these countries solve those larger problems? What made them push to solve the larger problems? Also, India has been always a risk averse country. Right after Britain left us, we were very poor. We had to fulfill our basic needs, and slowly we grew. At the same time, US had abundance of capital. China's policies were favorable to them. The way of them operating solved a lot of their problems early in their growth phase. But we are still a risk-averse country. we do have third world problems that we need to solve first to reach the first world thinking. And that's the clear
But
gap.
I don't think enabling a 20-minute delivery is a third world problem. Like it's a very first world problem. It's somebody who is lazy enough to cook. We are solving that problem by saying I'll deliver groceries to you in 10 minutes. How is that a
But
third world
don't you think
problem?
that the China has this? Has China, in China, there is a service where you can employ someone or hire someone to stand in queue on behalf of you.
Yeah.
Do you have that in India? China has solved all of this. They don't talk about it as much as we are talking about it. Okay. And we are talking about it so much because to fund these startups, a lot of FDI is coming in. In China, that did not happen. These startups
Yeah.
were funded by governments or the private equities there, or the VCs internally there. So all that happened there only. And they have also solved these problems already.
Yeah.
Then they are focused on larger problems also. And to understand, in US, these larger problems are funded by large private equities and the funds that they have. In China, they have been funded by governments. They are focusing on like big nuclear reactors. They have built an equivalent of sun, like a sun for themselves to have abundance of energy. So these are the projects which are
Yeah.
funded by governments there. What is government doing in India for us?
Oh, 100%. This is exactly what Pete and I actually spoke about in the last
On the
episode
latter
as well.
side also, right, in countries like Europe, US and all, founders have like higher risk appetite because they know that if someday we fail for our entire life till 60 years of age also, we
Yeah.
have social security. Our government will take care of us. We have hospitals which are really good, where we don't need to pay. We need to be just living there to ensure that rest of our life is safe, our parents lives are safe. But not so is not the case in India. We have to take care of our parents, ensure they have good medical facilities available, which are very expensive. Our health insurance, although we have, like, has a lot of caveats, it doesn't cover our bills.
But just to interrupt you, don't you think India is also going a lot after the consumer sort of opportunity, which is that, okay, what can I build immediately for the consumers first? And the problem is not, I'm not saying these are not problems that we should not solve. I'm saying that because of maybe lack of government support, you're right, but we're not looking at building things for the long term. There is not enough investment being made either by governments or by large organizations or by aspiring entrepreneurs or founders to
I
actually invest
disagree
in
with
building
Saksham.
long-term businesses.
I think there are a lot of crazy entrepreneurs who are building deep tech stuff, but because these are relatively unknown, because these have long gestation cycles, we don't get to know about them. And I
Hmm.
completely agree with Pavan. It's not on the startup entrepreneurs to essentially find problems that are long term, find problems that are complex, etc. Ultimately, startup founders or just founders in general will essentially start building in an industry or trying to tackle a problem only when there's relevant support around them. If let's say somebody starts building in the EV battery tech space, like Pavan mentioned, even after 10 years of them building it, in case they're not successful, what support has the government created where they
Yeah.
will be able to transition to something else? It doesn't fucking exist in India.
Yeah. No, on the government support bit, I 100% agree. Yeah. Got it.
And in the, like, couple of episodes behind, we spoke about GST, right? And I and Saksham, you had an argument on this. If you go to the same post around this, there are a lot of people complaining about GST there also. So
Yeah.
like India, like basic regulations, we show, what we tell to the entire world, right, aren't as what we are claiming them to be. We have digital payments, we have do the largest amount of transaction, everything is digital in India, but on ground the reality is a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do let us know in the comments, guys, what do you think. Okay, let's move.
No, but look at this post, right? I think this post, nicely captures it. India was
Really
once
good
called
post,
a
yeah.
nation of call centers, and it sounded like an insult. But quietly, we trained millions of young Indians to speak fluent English and dream beyond their hometowns. That was phase one. Then we became the IT back office of the world and created a generation of engineers who could code, manage complex systems, deliver at global scale. That was phase two. Now we are in phase three. Indians started the solving for India, and it looks chaotic from outside. These are signs of a country solving its own problems first before solving the world's. Sure, we should go more deep tech, and we will, I think. But first, we need more patient capital, more research-led universities, and more talent density. Deep tech ecosystems can't be built in a hackathon. It'll be
Fair.
built by million engineers who get obsessed in solving billion daily problems.
I
Beautiful
loved
post.
this tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very nice
One
post,
of
actually.
one of his other tweets also, which he posted, Dilip posted a few days ago, was how things around him have changed while he
Once he
was.
became an investor, no?
And once he became an investor and one he was a founder, there are people who never replied to him when he was a founder who are pinging him and saying that let's have a chat. That also shows how shallow our ecosystem is, dude. We are very proud of like building a great ecosystem, startup culture, hustle, India, built for Bharat and all. But internally we are very shallow people.
Yeah, but this is part and parcel of the process. Now. You can't really do
Yeah.
anything about it. Like wherever you are, I don't think this particular point is very India specific, but I completely agree. It is a lonely journey until you make it, and then everybody once you're relatively successful, then everybody just wants to know you,
Yeah.
talk to you, get attached to you, everything.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely agree. It's not very India specific, but what's very India specific is this mentality. Where you talk to some VCs in US, the way they structure their feedback and are very blunt on your face and tell you what's wrong. The same is not in India. In India, VCs will be just hovering around, telling that we will watch you from the side, we'll see where it goes. Tell the real problems. Tell what needs to be fixed. Move on with that.
This is also
That
very
happens in
prevalent.
Europe. That happens in
This is
US,
also
not in
very
India.
prevalent in sales. Maybe Saksham can attest to this, but out of all the countries, like Indian buyers, they will never say yes or no. They will just keep the salesperson on the hook, keep them waiting for the long
And
time.
that's
Whereas
actually a lot of mentality issue. So at least even within India, I've worked both in like the North Indian markets and West and South I'll club together. There's a huge mind shift difference, mindset difference as well. So in the North, if you go and sell somebody, right, in the buyer's first perspective immediately is that this person has come to make money off of me and trying to loot me. The thought is never that the person who's come to sell something is actually trying to help me or trying to solve my problem. And I think that's where the main issue only stems from. It's a lot of trust issues in India. Why sales is looked at extremely differently here versus rest of the world.
let's move on to another interesting topic. Design is open to interpretation.
I actually really like this
Same
tweet.
here. Look at this. I observed an auto driver on the Namayatri app giving me a 5-star rating after our trip. Interestingly, he tapped each star in sequence, starting from 1 star and working his way up to 5. Despite my decade of experience in design, I never anticipated this particular user behavior. I noticed another interesting pattern where some Indian users give a 1-star rating to services they actually enjoy, mistakenly equating the 1 star with first place or number one in quality. What are your unexpected human computer interactions? Dude, this happened to me once. In fact, a couple of times when I was traveling by Uber, I had a great chat with the Uber driver. He was laughing at some of my stupid jokes. I was laughing at some of his stories. I got off the cab, we looked at each other, smiled, and while making eye contact, this guy gave me a 1 star, smiled, and cab. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? So this is what
Yeah.
happened basically.
Tell us an unexpected human computer interaction that you have had. Okay.
I've been in situations like what Pete mentioned as well.
Hmm.
But interesting for me was this the reels being as in or YouTube shorts being adopted in my home. I observed my mom not having YouTube on her phone, but the next time I went home, she having YouTube, and then she getting hooked to long form of content. And one day, and this is a chat that I had. One day, she suddenly sees that when she opened YouTube, a long form, the short form content is playing, and she figured out that she can swipe the screen up, and now she is hooked to the short form content. Can you see like these things? They are not taught. The UI is designed in such a way that people of all age instantly learn them on the way. And the subtle way of opening your application with shorts rather than long form of content, that itself is like designing it in such a way that all people
Yeah, yeah.
understand it.
I think one of
Sakshi,
the things that I have seen the most is actually, and it still happens. Like I see it in office every day. I see it around. I see it with parents. Is every time somebody is talking over a speakerphone in India, you somehow just keep your mouth closer to the microphone, and it's not required. Like you don't have to take your phone and talk like this when you're on speakerphone. You can very well just keep it here and talk, and that's very fascinating to me personally.
anyway, let's move on. To bike taxi services are banned again. Dude, what is happening, man? I feel like this happens every 1 2 years where government stops bike taxis, then they come up with another service. What is
It's
happening over
only
here?
Karnataka, bro. It's just Karnataka, and it's extremely disappointing. Like I don't even want to share my thoughts. I'm so disappointed.
No, and don't you guys get surprised that this news just vanishes in a couple of weeks and you see bike taxes again everywhere and this is like fifth or sixth time that's happening? What happens in that 1 2 weeks? What do you guys think?
The auto
Exactly.
mafia are the worst during this fucking city.
Yeah.
It's not just the auto mafia, I guess. I feel it's the unions as well as the governments conspiring together to ensure that they get their own share of things at right time in time to
It's
time.
Incentives
just to ensure that the middle class suffers, bro. Let me put it
No,
very
dude.
simply.
Dude, incentives are look. I'm sure the government wants to kind of do good stuff for their citizens, but the incentives are just so wrongly aligned. For example, if the government there's no incentive for the government to cater to the top 1% or top 5% people in the city, because rather if they cater to the auto union or the group of auto drivers where they get a lot more votes, the chances of them being in power is much higher. And
Yeah.
look, that's just a concern now. Auto people obviously they don't want government to enforce meters, so they will put pressure on the government to ensure that all of these other services that startups and all the other entrepreneurs are doing are getting shut down. So I just the incentives are just misaligned. So I'm not sure how we can come out of this fucking rat race for some reason. Cool. Let's move on to our weekly chatter expose. So this character came out and trashed Nikhil Kamath in this post. Even Nikhil Kamath's company do shady things. Had an experience that every founder should be aware of. Nikhil Kamath's team at Gruhas approached us, claiming they were interested in funding our startup. They scheduled a call, asked detailed questions, and seemed eager to learn what we are building. But at the end of the call, it became clear this wasn't about investment, it was about copying our technology and insights. They had no real intent to fund us. Instead, they were gathering intel to go back to another company in the same space. I felt disgusted and cheated by the end of this. This is outright predatory. This is about protecting the startup ecosystem from these practices. If you face something similar, let's talk. These guys need to be exposed and called out. Damn.
Bro,
Interesting.
I feel this is a very naive post,
Yeah.
personally. Like,
Yeah.
guys, that's how business works everywhere. Just you can't stop anybody from copying you. It's your responsibility to go out in the market and beat them and win. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's I agree with you, but like in the early stages of your company, there is just like this one insight, one nuance, or one niche which you pick, struggle
Then
for it.
don't share that na, with the investors straight away.
Yeah, then you should not be
Be
sharing
smart
it with
about it.
investors, but you also need investment to get better, right? You need that also, and investors will not invest in you without that niche or that idea. So it
Dude,
looks
I
like
just
an
felt
niche for
this
you.
was a unnecessary rant, to be
I don't know
honest.
whether it's true or not.
Yeah, look, this is a little naive and a little unnecessary, right? Because everything is open to interpretation. Maybe this
Yep.
person
Yeah.
did not get funding, and now he's blaming the investors for not doing that. But this begs the larger question, right? Like, if a startup founder, before pitching to a VC, goes and tells the VC, "Hey, I want you to sign an NDA, and you can't decide to do this," do you think an investor or a VC will do it? No. And I think that is the larger picture over here, or the larger point over here that we should talk about. With that, let's end the episode. Thank you so much for watching this week's edition of the Indian Startup Desktop. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel below. See you next week.
Bye, guys. See you.
Fun, dude.
Money. It's written on your face now.
Saksham,
This
is this
is
you?
my ID. Funso Kangru. This is me only, guys.
Bro, I only see one red flag in that text.
Delhi.
Yeah.
Okay.